This past week, I traveled to one of my most favorite places in the entire world, the St. John Virgin Islands. It is one of the most beautiful places I have ever been. On today's video, I just want to share a few of my tips for those of you that are traveling to the Virgin Islands. I hope you find these useful and they're based upon our experience in traveling here. Tip number one is that there's not a direct airport to St. John. You actually have to fly into St. Thomas. You then have to have a car service or a taxi take you to the ferry, in which the ferry will then take you to St. John. So we're officially here and we have a van all to ourselves. St. John is not accessible by car alone. You do have to have the ferry to get across. One tip about the ferry is it leaves on the hour every hour. It's a beautiful place on the water, so if you do have to wait, it's not the end of the world. There's a place where you can grab drinks and snacks. So you must wait on the ferry, but the ferry only leaves every hour, and of course we get there 3 minutes after the hour in which it leaves. The ferry does charge per bag, so keep in mind on that, and some of the taxis do as well. So be conscious of how many bags you're bringing, just because you're gonna have to pay that coming onto the island and back off. St. John is connected to St. Thomas, which is the bigger island on the Virgin Islands. So the Virgin Islands are still in America. You don't have to bring a passport. You don't have to worry about customs. It's a really seamless entry when you come to the US Virgin Islands if you are a US citizen. Tip number two is deciding how you're gonna get around. For us, renting a Jeep was the best option because we really wanted to have the flexibility to be able to drive to some of the beaches further out and be able to shoot photography and video on our own time. And I'm sure that using the taxi services and the ride services here in St. John would be a little bit more cost efficient, but then you would kind of have to be on their time limit and make sure you're picked up at the right time and that type of thing. So for us, renting a Jeep was really efficient. If you are under 25, you will not be able to rent a vehicle. The reason Jeeps are about the only option for car rentals is because you're gonna be on a mountainous terrain. You're gonna be basically anywhere you go. It might say 5 miles, but it might take 30 minutes just because you're gonna be going around the mountain, on top of the mountain. It also doesn't hurt. The Jeep is really aesthetically pleasing, so if you're taking photos, it looks really cool on the mountain. And so I would plan to rent that before you come, because if you try to do it when you get here, they may actually all be booked up.
We'll see you in a bit, probably.
My next tip is about deciding where to stay, and I've done both, so I really think that I can give you some good insight on this. The first time we came to St. John, I got a VRBO listing up on the mountain. I'll show you some photos here. It was a gorgeous view, but the only negative to that is that you did have to drive 10 or 15 minutes out of town, but you did get some nice, peaceful, quiet mornings and some beautiful views, sunset, sunrises. The second time we came back, we actually decided to stay right in the middle of town at the Cruise Bay Boutique Hotel, which is where I'm sitting right now. And I would highly recommend this as well, because we can literally walk to almost any restaurant we want to. We can walk to the ferry dock. There's waterfront like 200 feet from us. Based on having stayed in town and more out of town with a beautiful view, I would say do both. I think that would really give you the best of both worlds, having that flexibility to walk around, but then also having more of an outside the city experience as well, waking up in nature. A lot of your homes that you're gonna rent on Airbnb or VRBO, you'll be able to have a nice view because they're gonna sit up on the hill. My next tip would be something that we did not do the first time we came, but we did this week, and it was absolutely breathtaking. It was a sunset cruise by Cruise Bay Water Sports, specifically the Daydreamer boat. I would 100% recommend doing this if you come to St. John. I'll link it below. This was just breathtaking. Like, to be out on the water, I think it may run about 80 bucks per person, but it is beyond worth that. One of the coolest experiences that I had here on the island. Next up is food. Food on the island is so freaking good. If you love seafood, you're gonna be in heaven here. If you love tacos, you're gonna be in heaven here. The food and drinks here are incredible. Lots and lots and lots of great food. A couple of my favorite restaurants are Longboard. They have great poke bowls, great like meat and rice bowls, and some incredible signature specialty cocktails. So the other restaurant that we really enjoyed was the Lime Out. It takes about 30 minutes to drive there from the main part of Cruise Bay, and you actually have to rent a kayak to get out to this floating taco bar, which is just incredible. It's actually a sister company to Lime Inn restaurant that many of you have probably gone to in St. John. I'm gonna link below to the video review of the Lime Out Floating Taco Bar. It is absolutely incredible. One of the coolest experiences that I had here on the island. We did a full video review of our experience there, and that's gonna be linked below. My last tip for St. John is just be really open. One of our things that my friend Robert and I decided to do this trip was not make a lot of plans. We really wanted to keep our schedule open, as it's really an adventurous place. And so be open to doing different things, like just jump in the car and say, we're gonna go for a drive. You can literally go for a drive and pass like 6 or 7 beaches and there not be anyone else on those beaches. If you go towards Hawks Nest Beach on Peace Hill, there's a beautiful short hike there. There's a ton of other hikes. I'll link some of those below that you can go on. I would just say be really open and say like, hey, we're on this island. We're not in an overly commercialized touristy area, which I love, and just be open to what might happen if you just set out on an adventure. If you go out for a hike, or say I'm gonna drive towards the beaches and we'll decide which one to go on when we get there. For those of you that like snorkeling, it is incredible here on the island. The best that I've ever experienced personally. It's a very safe environment. The locals are very friendly. And so just get out there and meet people and have a great time. St. John is not one of the easiest places to get to in the world, but if you do visit here, you will not regret it. It's a great place to unplug, leave your cell phone at the rental, and just get out there and adventure. And although it's not easy to get to, it's so nice when you're actually out here on your own. Traveled to St. John before and you have any tips below, be sure to comment those so that others can see them. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you guys so much for watching. Something hot. Oh! Ooh. Well, that could have been way worse. At least we're recording. I'm just happy we're recording, honestly. Well guys, I've officially been a vlogger for 4 minutes and my Joby Gorilla Pod just fell over. There's a point in the vlog when you stop watching because it gets too boring. Yeah, my mom's watching still.